The first sign of trouble wasn't the noise. It was the fresh tire tracks cutting through the dew like someone owned the place, and when Ethan saw the HOA sign nailed to his gate, his stomach dropped. Ethan Carter had spent years saving for that land, quiet acres outside a small American town, a place where the world finally went silent. It wasn't just property. It was peace. A private stretch of hunting land passed down through his father's memories, now protected by law and locked with steel chains. But that morning, the chain was hanging open, a bright laminated notice flapped in the wind: HOA community inspection today. Unauthorized fencing will be removed. Ethan didn't even live inside their neighborhood. His land bordered their fancy subdivision, nothing more. Yet the HOA president, a sharp-voiced woman named Marlene Hargrove, had been complaining for months. She hated the sight of trees, hated the old dirt trail, hated that Ethan refused to join the community. He'd ignored her emails. He'd blocked her number. He'd stayed calm. Now he stared at the notice and realized something terrifying: this wasn't a complaint anymore. This was action. He drove deeper into his land and found 3 men in neon vests marking trees with orange paint. A fourth was measuring the boundary like it belonged to them. Ethan stepped out, voice steady. "You're trespassing." One man smirked. "HOA authority. We're expanding the community trail. You'll get a letter." Ethan felt his hands shake, not from fear, but disbelief. They were doing this in daylight, like laws didn't exist. He pulled out his phone and started recording. "Say that again." The men froze for a second. Then kept working, and that's when Ethan saw the metal stakes being driven into the soil right where his posted warning sign stood. He whispered, "They're really doing it." But he wasn't the one who should panic, because Ethan wasn't just a landowner, he was the reason the sheriff would take this personally. Ethan didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply walked back to his truck, still recording, and dialed one number he rarely used. Sheriff Dana Brooks, a calm female voice answered. Ethan exhaled. "Dana. It's happening." There was a pause, then the tone shifted. "Where are you?" "My land. The HOA crew is inside the gate. They've got stakes, paint, and paperwork claiming community inspection." Dana didn't ask questions. She didn't doubt him. She only said, "Stay safe. Do not confront. I'm coming." Ethan watched the men from a distance. Their confidence was unreal. One even leaned against Ethan's fence like he was taking a break at a park. Another snapped photos of the trees as if preparing a report. Then Marlene arrived. Her SUV rolled in like a parade float, glossy and smug. She stepped out wearing sunglasses and a pastel blazer, holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. She didn't even glance at the gate chain. She walked up to Ethan as if he was the visitor. "Mr. Carter, you've been non-compliant for months." Ethan kept the camera steady. "This is private property. You broke my lock." Marlene smiled. "We didn't break anything. We entered." "That's different." Her words were chilling, cold, practiced. Like she'd rehearsed them. "We're building a walking trail," she continued. "Our residents deserve access to nature. Your land borders us. You should be thankful we're improving it." Ethan's voice stayed quiet. "It's not yours to improve." Marlene leaned closer. "Then take us to court." "But today? We're moving forward." She turned and snapped her fingers at the workers. "Keep going. If he gets in your way, call HOA security." Ethan almost laughed. HOA security? On his land, he wanted to scream, but he remembered Dana's words, "Do not confront." Instead, he walked toward the trees and saw something worse: spray paint on his father's old wooden marker, the one that had been there since Ethan was a kid. A simple carving that said, "Carter Ridge." It was defaced with orange lines. Ethan's eyes stung. That marker wasn't just wood. It was history. Marlene watched him react and smiled wider, as if hurting him was the point. Then the sound came from the road, sirens, fast and closing. Marlene's smile faltered, because the sheriff wasn't coming to talk, she was coming to stop something. The sirens grew louder until the trees seemed to vibrate with them. 2 patrol vehicles pulled up at the gate, then a third. Deputies stepped out quickly, hands calm but ready. Sheriff Dana Brooks arrived last. She didn't rush. She walked with a steady power that made even the wind feel quieter. Her uniform was crisp, her eyes sharp, and the badge on her chest seemed to glow in the sunlight. Marlene straightened her blazer like she was preparing for a debate. Sheriff Brooks. Good timing. We're conducting a lawful HOA inspection. Dana raised one hand. Stop. That single word sliced through the entire scene. The workers froze. The measuring tape dropped into the grass. Dana looked at the open gate. Who cut this lock? Marlene laughed nervously. No one cut anything. It was open. Ethan stepped forward and held up the broken lock pieces. It was sealed yesterday. Dana didn't even take them. She only nodded like she already knew, then she turned to Marlene. Do you have written permission from the owner to be on this land? Marlene lifted her clipboard. We have HOA authority. This land affects our community values. Dana's expression didn't change. That's not permission. Marlene's voice rose. We have easement rights. We're creating a community trail for safety and Dana cut her off again. Easement rights are recorded with the county. Do you have a recorded easement? Marlene opened her mouth. Then closed it. One of the workers tried to help. Ma'am, we were told it's fine. Dana turned to him gently. Sir, you were misled. Step away from the boundary markers. The men slowly backed up, suddenly unsure. Marlene's face tightened. Sheriff, you're overreacting. This is a civil matter. Dana stepped closer. This is trespassing. And destruction of private property. Marlene scoffed. You can't arrest the HOA. We represent the neighborhood. Dana looked at Ethan, then back at Marlene. You represent paperwork. Not the law. Marlene's eyes flickered. You're biased. You know him. Dana didn't deny it. Yes. I do. Ethan felt something shift in the air, like the story was about to reveal its hidden truth. Marlene tried a different tone, sweet and fake. Dana, we can talk privately. Dana leaned in just enough to make her words unavoidable. You're standing on land owned by a man who's done more for this county than you ever will. Marlene whispered, what does that mean? Dana stepped back and spoke loud enough for everyone. It means this land is protected. And you just walked into a mistake. Then Dana turned to her deputies. Secure the area. Collect statements. Marlene's voice cracked. You can't do this. But Dana already had, and the next revelation would make Marlene's knees weak. As deputies began photographing the damaged fence and painted markers, Marlene's confidence melted into panic. She kept flipping through her clipboard like the right page could save her. This is insane, she muttered. I will call the HOA attorney. Dana nodded calmly. Call whoever you want. Ethan watched Marlene's hands tremble as she dialed. Her voice went sharp again, trying to rebuild control. Yes, hello, this is Marlene Hargrove, HOA president. We have a situation with Sheriff Brooks interfering. Dana didn't react. She simply walked with Ethan toward the boundary line where the stakes had been hammered in. Ethan stared at the orange paint on his father's marker. They ruined it. Dana's voice softened. I know. Ethan swallowed hard. Why would she do this? I never bothered them. Dana looked toward the subdivision. Because she hates what she can't control. Marlene Sue. Marlene suddenly marched over, phone pressed to her ear. My lawyer says you have no authority to stop an HOA inspection. Dana didn't even glance at her. Your lawyer is wrong. Marlene's eyes widened. Excuse me? Dana turned slowly, her gaze steady like a courtroom verdict. You broke a lock. You entered private land without consent. You directed workers to alter property lines. That's not an inspection. That's a violation. Marlene's voice turned desperate. We believed it was community property. Ethan finally spoke, voice low but firm. You knew it wasn't. That hit Marlene like a slap. How dare you? Dana raised a folder she'd been holding, one Ethan hadn't noticed. Marlene, you've been warned twice already by the county about boundary harassment. Marlene blinked. What folder is that? Dana opened it and revealed printed emails, Marlene's emails. Complaints. Threats. Demands. One message even said, if he won't cooperate, we'll take control ourselves. Marlene's face drained of color. Those were just words. Dana stepped closer. Words become actions. And today, you acted. Marlene suddenly pointed at Ethan. He's intimidating our residents. He hunts out here. It scares families. Ethan exhaled. It's legal. And it's my land. Dana's voice was calm but heavy. And you don't get to rewrite the law because you don't like the view. Marlene's lips parted. You're protecting him like he's special. Dana nodded once. He is. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Dana wasn't saying it for drama. She meant it. Marlene's eyes narrowed. Why? Who is he to you? Dana's answer came like thunder without noise. He saved my brother's life. Silence fell, and Marlene realized she hadn't just crossed a line, she'd crossed the wrong person. Marlene's voice dropped to a whisper. Saved your brother? Dana didn't flinch. Years ago. Overseas. My brother came home because Ethan didn't leave him behind. He never talked about that part of his life. He didn't need applause. He only wanted quiet, but Marlene's mind raced in a different direction, one filled with fear. She forced a laugh. That's touching. But irrelevant. This is still HOA business. Dana's eyes sharpened. Nothing about this is HOA business. Ethan walked to the broken lock and held it up. This is criminal damage. This is trespass. This is intimidation. Marlene snapped, I'm not intimidating anyone. I'm improving the community. Dana pointed at the painted tree marks. Improving? You marked trees on land you don't own. One of the workers stepped forward nervously. Ma'am, we were told it was authorized. Dana nodded at him. You're not in trouble if you cooperate. Who hired you? The worker glanced at Marlene. The HOA. She said it was approved. Marlene's face twisted. Don't you dare blame me. Ethan's heart pounded. He could feel the story shifting from conflict to consequence. Dana turned to her deputies. Get the county property map. Confirm boundary lines. I want everything documented. Marlene's confidence collapsed further. Sheriff, this is overkill. Dana replied, no. This is what happens when someone thinks they're above the law. Marlene's phone buzzed again. She answered quickly, voice shaky. Hello? Yes, this is Marlene. Her expression changed mid-sentence. Her eyes widened like she'd been slapped by invisible hands. She looked at Dana. The attorney. He said if there's no easement, we're exposed. Dana tilted her head. Exposed to what? Marlene swallowed. Legal penalties. Charges. Restitution. Ethan stepped closer. And an apology. Marlene glared at him. You want an apology? You're enjoying this. Ethan shook his head. No. I'm mourning what you tried to take. Dana's voice softened again, but only for a moment. Marlene, you could have asked the county for a trail proposal. You could have negotiated. You chose force. Marlene whispered, I chose leadership. Dana corrected her. You chose control. Then Dana said the words that made the workers gasp, Marlene Hargrove, you are being cited for trespassing and property interference. Marlene's knees nearly buckled. You can't, Dana held up her hand. I can. And I am. But the biggest twist hadn't happened yet, because Dana wasn't done revealing what this land truly was. Marlene stood frozen, as if her body couldn't decide whether to scream or run. The deputies moved in, calm and professional, collecting IDs and documenting every tool, every stake, every spray can. Ethan watched silently, still recording. Not for revenge, but for truth, Marlene suddenly snapped into a new act. Tears formed instantly. Like she'd practiced them. Sheriff Brooks, please. I'm a mother. I was only trying to protect our families. Dana didn't react. Then you should have protected them by respecting the law. Marlene pointed toward the woods. He hunts here. People walk near the boundary. It's dangerous. Ethan's voice remained steady. The boundary is posted. You ignored it. Dana stepped forward and spoke in a tone that sounded like a final chapter. Marlene, do you know why this land matters so much to him? Marlene sniffed dramatically. Because he's stubborn? Dana shook her head. Because this land is part of a registered conservation agreement. Marlene blinked. What? Dana continued. It's protected habitat. That means you can't just cut trails, remove trees, or change the soil. You just attempted to do all three. Marlene's mouth fell open. No one told me that. Dana answered coldly. Because you never asked. You assumed. Ethan finally spoke with emotion in his voice. My father signed that agreement before he passed. He wanted the land to stay wild. He wanted it untouched. Marlene's voice cracked. So? What happens now? Dana turned to the deputies. Call County Environmental Services. I want them here today. Marlene panicked. Environmental Services? Over a trail? Dana nodded. Yes. Because you marked protected trees. That's serious. The workers stepped even farther away from Marlene, like her bad decisions were contagious. Marlene tried one last push, voice sharp again. This is ridiculous. HOA boards have authority. Dana leaned closer. Authority ends at your boundary line. Then Dana looked at Ethan with something almost personal. You okay? Ethan's eyes were wet. It feels like she tried to erase my dad. Dana nodded slowly. Then we'll make sure she learns what respect costs. Marlene whispered, You're ruining my life. Ethan answered quietly, You walked into mine first. A deputy approached Dana. Sheriff. There's something else. Dana turned. What? The deputy held up a printed document found in Marlene's car. A drafted letter titled, Forced Land Acquisition Plan. Ethan's stomach dropped, Marlene's face turned pale, because it wasn't just trespassing, it was a plan, and now everyone would see it. Dana took the document slowly, reading each line like it was poison. Forced Land Acquisition Plan. Drafted by HOA leadership. Marlene lunged forward. That's not official. That's just notes. Dana held it higher so the deputies could photograph it. It has your name. Your signature. And a timeline. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. So that's why you came in daylight. You thought you could claim it. Marlene shook her head violently. No. I was trying to protect property values. Dana looked at her like she'd finally seen the truth behind the smile. You were trying to steal land. The neighborhood residents had begun gathering near the subdivision entrance, drawn by sirens and curiosity. Some recognized Marlene. Some recognized Ethan. But none of them recognized this version of their HOA president, sweating, shaking, exposed. Dana stepped toward the crowd. This HOA attempted unauthorized entry and interference on private protected land. This is now under county and sheriff investigation. Gasps rippled through the residents. A man in the crowd muttered, She told us it was public land. A woman whispered, She said Ethan was the problem. Ethan stood still, heart heavy. He didn't want attention. He wanted peace. But he also wanted the truth to land where it belonged. Marlene's voice cracked. "They'll blame me." Dana replied, "No. They'll finally see you." Marlene collapsed into silence, her clipboard hanging useless at her side. For the first time, she wasn't in control of the story. Dana turned to Ethan. "We'll restore the marker. And you'll get restitution for every inch of damage." Ethan nodded, eyes shining. "My dad would have wanted that." As deputies escorted Marlene back toward the vehicles, she looked at Ethan with a broken, bitter stare, like she couldn't believe the world didn't bend for her, but it didn't, because this wasn't her neighborhood, it was his land, and the final twist wasn't the sheriff showing up, it was that the HOA had tried to take what they never owned and got caught in front of everyone, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.